Hey guys, welcome back to the Screen Chronicles. Today we're doing our Season 3 Last Kingdom talk, and we recorded this talk back in April, and then we kind of got caught up with Season 4 coming out, and we were very fortunate to have a bunch of cast talks and be joined by a lot of the cast members of the Last Kingdom, so we didn't really have the chance to put these out then, so we're going to put them out now. So enjoy our talks for Season 3 of the Last Kingdom.
Absolutely. These are the first 4 episodes of season 3. After that, we'll do the next several, and then the last one we're going to actually have to record again because Skype didn't save. So the last 3 episodes of season 3 will be new.
Yes.
But the first 7, I think it is, will be old. So stay tuned, though, and thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to the Screen Chronicles. I'm Colby and with me is Steve, and today we are covering Season 3, the first half of Season 3 of The Last Kingdom. We're going to break down Season 3 today. You know that these episodes are jammed-packed with awesome stuff. So we're going to try to do a more brief synopsis this time of each episode and then talk about the things we liked about it, some more main talking points. We'll try to cover as much as we can, but also be a little bit more concise today. Opinion, we're giving some no spoiler reviews before we jump into the spoiler talk. I mean, they killed it again this season. They killed it again, and it's not just the same over and over again. This season does have a different feel. I feel like it focuses on different people a little bit more. Yeah, and I think this season has 2 of like probably the fans' least favorite scenes in all of The Last Kingdom. And I think you know which 2 I'm talking about right off the bat. We'll get there, but certainly 2 of the saddest scenes that we've seen, heartbreaking scenes. And then we get some really good character development. I think that's the strength of the season, is we get to see a lot of characters, just see how they grow. And I think I don't think that's always an easy thing to capture in a show or a movie, and I think they crush it in this.
Yeah.
Overall, compared to the other seasons, how does this one rank for you?
First time I watched it, this probably would have been my least favorite, just because there are so many characters that we love that I thought were safe. I thought they had passed the finish line and they were good, and they take them from us. And, we'll get into it once we get into our spoiler talk here. So that, first time I saw it, it was really a lot to take in. I mean, we get a lot of names crossed off the call sheet for
it.
This.
It is, and honestly, when we watch the Season 4 trailer, I can't help but feel like it's a little bit empty. I think The Last Kingdom really supplies a lot of satisfaction overall, but I think if you only gave satisfaction all the time, then wouldn't it get boring after a while?
I would agree, yeah.
You gotta have that adversity.
One thing, like when I'm comparing it to another show like Game of Thrones, I feel like the satisfaction is so few and far between. Like I could probably count on one hand how many times I was like,
what, in Game of Thrones?
Yes, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
How many times I got a satisfying moment.
Yeah.
Probably off the top of my head, when Jon Snow kills the guys that killed him, Jon Snow, the Battle of the Bastards, Ramsay, when he gets killed.
Oh, yeah. That was satisfying.
But, I mean, yeah, like in that show, a lot of people compare Last Kingdom to that, and the fact that it has a lot of the politic plotting schemes.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more action in this. It's a lot more dense character. I would say there are some, Game of Thrones episodes that are kind of throwaway episodes, kind of just build.
That doesn't exist in The Last Kingdom.
They don't know what that
doesn't exist in The Last Kingdom.
They don't know what it means. I do rank now probably 2, 3, and 1.
Okay.
It's probably where
yeah. I think Season 3 was the best made season. Does that make sense? I think that was from a filmmaking point of view, from an acting point of view, the writing point of view, I think really Season 3 is probably up there for me as my favorite. The Alfred and Edward stuff, building Edward, as a kingly figure is that whole theme I absolutely loved. It was awesome, and I can't wait to see how it impacts him in season 4.
Yeah.
So,
And again, that wasn't something I was expecting. We always talk about unexpected, plot lines or, story arcs where the show goes, like the Siegfried and Eric storyline that we weren't expecting for the second half of season 2. I wasn't really expecting to be as invested in the Edward Alfred moments in this.
yeah, they kill it.
Okay, then, everyone, we've told you our non-spoiler thoughts, so we are going to get into the spoiler talk for season 3. If you're listening to us on podcast, you can check us out on YouTube and vice versa. So take a look at all that. The Screen Chronicles here. So we're going to get into episode 1 of season 3. I'm going to give you a brief wrap up, and we're going to talk about it, okay? Again, spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
We start out this season, we get some new Dane enemies. They start out, they show us there's this sorceress Skade who's very mean to people, and she has this guy serving for her blood hair. He's the Viking in charge. And
Skade reminds me of Veruca Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Who is she? Which one was she?
I want it now.
Yes. It might be her growing up. They're the ones, though. They're gathering a big Dane army. Bloodhair seems like he's going to be the new threat against Alfred, Wessex, all that. And then we go see Wessex. And now Heston, from the end of season 2, he's taken over Bienfilat, where Bienfilat.
Why can't we say this today?
I can't say it. I can only say it. But Heston has taken that over since Siegfried and Eric have died. He's the new Dane in charge, but he's working for Alfred, at least seemingly. Uhtred is still working for Alfred, and Alfred himself has been sort of deteriorating. He's whatever his digestive system diagnosis is, it's really messing him up. He looks really bad. He looks older than Bianca now. And in season 1, he looked like a 18-year-old compared to Bianca. And now he looks like late 60s. Bianca's like, I'm 35.
I don't think Ian Hart ages. I don't know.
I don't think. They show us that Uhtred, he's been sort of helping out Alfred's son, Edward, to be king. Edward, he's been seen now. He's being groomed to be the Etheling, the next king of Winchester, next king of Wessex, and to carry on Alfred's idea. We also see Ethelfled. Her and her husband, Ethelred, have been on rocky terms, pretty much since day 1 of their marriage. If you listen to our talk with season 2, you know that she had done the horizontal tango with a Dane, Eric, and she got a little prego after that. And she had a kid, and Ethelred has been able to do the math and realize
2 and 2 together
that he wasn't the one who did that. So their love's on the rocks, but they're like separated. They're not really, rivals with each other anymore. I guess at least they don't have to talk to each other is what it comes down to. They're separated. Yeah. So, absolutely. And then at the end of the episode, it ends kind of with Skade cursing Uhtred, and a lot of bad things start to happen from there. And at the end of this episode, actually a main character dies already. So yeah, that's the big summary. Let's get into the fine points a little bit here.
Yeah. So right off the bat, Skade's on the mushrooms. We see she's having crazy visions and stuff, but she's a seer. So a seeress. And I did a little bit of research on Viking seeresses, the seers from a historical point of view. So Viking seers, they had high status in these cultures. They were very respected members of their community, and they would often go to households, try to settle distresses, and at times they may have a group of younger girls who might dance and sing to help invoke the spirits. All of this started to die down in history in at least in the Viking culture and that in the Danish culture, the Scandinavian culture in general, when Christianity started to spread and witchcraft became pretty much outlawed. And instead of being seen as like a power that can help people or can help maybe see the future or whatever, or settle fate, it started to be seen as like an evil, dark magic power that they were using. And they, you know, and that shit ain't Christian.
That shit ain't Christian.
So that was out. So just a little bit of history on Viking seers in general.
Cool, yeah.
But anyway, so right off the bat, we can just tell she's a little nasty.
She's mean.
She's like, don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
Don't look at me. Guy accidentally looks at her. And
he's like, I didn't know it was now.
It's his eyes just gouged out. I mean, that was a brutal scene.
She takes his tongue out. You don't see like her do those things, but
you see it like, after. I think you pretty much see the tongue though. She like puts it up like that, and it's nasty. Anyway, so we can tell right away. And then she goes and we meet Bloodhair doing this whole ritualistic thing. Everybody can't look at her, and she goes and like
none of the men can look at her.
None of the men can look at her, and she goes and like feeds him her blood. And like says that, by the way, in the vision, she saw Alfred dying on the battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
She saw the warrior who killed him, and she said it was Bloodhair at the beginning, or she told Bloodhair it was him. Feeds him the blood. Really gross.
Hepatitis, kids.
We were just like, whoa. And then Bloodhair goes and does something, and they does something that's a classic way to make fans not like a character right away. He goes and he just straight up murders a horse. I mean, here's this horse, dude. If you rewatch the scene and focus on the horse is standing there all upright. And he's like, I'm a good horse. I've been fast. I do good in battle. I'm a good horse. He likes me. Owner likes me. And bam! What the heck, dude? He just murders a horse.
Yeah, and he like takes the blood and then he earns his namesake. He wipes it through his hair. He gets blood hair. Bloodhair is his name. The first couple times I watched this show, the first couple times I watched this season, I kept hearing them say Bloodhair. I thought they were like, it was like a Scandinavian word, a Scandinavian name, like blood hair, like Heir, or something. Right. People like they say like Bebbenburr instead of Bebbenberg.
Oh no, this was very literal.
Yeah, his name is actually Blood Hair.
It does wonders for the scalp.
It does exfoliate the scalp.
Yeah.
Bloodhair by L'Oreal.
Yeah, so just a little background on who Sigurd Bloodhair is. In the books, apparently, Alexander Draymond was on record saying that he's a combination of two characters from the books. There was a character named Sigurd, and there was a character named Harold Bloodhair.
I thought I saw this somewhere too.
Yeah, so I guess he's a combination of both. And from the books, Bernard Cornwell based Harold Bloodhair, allegedly based him on the real Harold Fairhair. Harold Fairhair was king in the 10th century, a Norwegian king, and he had a son named Eric Bloodaxe. So they think maybe he took that. And first of all, let me just say, Viking names are awesome.
Yes.
So they think he may have been based on that king. That's a little speculation, but maybe.
Fair hair to blood hair, that's a big jump. I mean, like probably fair hair probably like took really good care of his hair. Probably like was combing it every day. Like the idea of getting blood in it was probably like the last thing on his mind. You know what I mean? He's like, oh no. So like all of his men were like, oh, that's Harold Fairhair over there. He's like, oh no, get away from my hair. What would your Viking name be? Since they have sweet names, what would your sweet Viking name be?
Colbstone baseball bat.
Colbstone baseball bat.
I don't know.
I think that's good. Maybe like
Colbstone bat to the head. I don't know.
Bloodstone.
Yeah, sure. That's cool. That's cool. I kill people with stones. What would yours be? Do you know?
Now my head's stuck on blood. Maybe mine would be like fair goatee. Steve. Yeah. Fair goatee.
It's fair.
Ooh, fair. Don't get blood in it, guys. I get food trapped in this thing all the time when it gets longer. So it's not very fair.
I know what it's like, man. Believe me.
Yeah, Colby can grow a mean Viking beard. Colby can grow a mean Viking beard.
Did once.
So I mean, if we got on Last Kingdom, Colby could easily make that beard
I
happen.
can make it happen.
Probably like in a day and a half, maybe. I think that's all he needs.
Yeah, I got to shave like every 2 hours. So
You give me a month, I can get this out long. I can maybe grow this in like 2 months.
So anyway, we got blood here now, and then we gotta go back to Wessex, and a really cool training scene between with Stiapa and Edward.
Yeah,
and it's cool to watch. And what I like here in this scene is Alfred's like happy to see Uhtred walk up. He's like, Uhtred.
Yes. It's pretty clear. Years have gone by since season 2, and Uhtred is at least in some decent good graces here. He's like, Uhtred, test the boy, you know.
Yeah.
And like, because Uhtred's like, you can't fight with steel swords because you're not going to actually try and make a killing blow on each other.
Right.
Wooden swords, and Stiapa's like, oh, thank God, like
yeah.
swords instead of this. And so he goes up there, and he's kind of toying with Edward, and Alfred's like, you need to test him, Uhtred, meaning Uhtred, kick his ass.
Yeah.
And Uhtred proceeds to kick his son's ass
yes.
with his wooden stick.
That's an awesome moment. Love that moment.
And this is really the first scene where we see Alfred sort of really trying to get his son Edward into that king position. And this
he needs to make him like a warrior type, right?
Yeah. I really liked this scene the first time I saw it, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I did when I rewatched it, and I knew how Alfred and him how their relationship was going to change throughout the season.
And a very important aspect of these scenes is there's always somebody in the corner watching. There's always somebody laughing when Edward falls, or you know what I mean? And that's Ethelwald. And by the way, just to throw it in, Harry McIntyre was nice enough to join us on our last episode. We had a great interview with him, got some awesome behind-the-scenes stories and about his perspective on Ethelwald. So if you haven't checked that out, it's on our podcast page. It's on YouTube. Please check it out. It's really had a blast with that. But yeah.
It was really cool getting his perspective, because the first time I watched this through with you, I was really only seeing things through Uhtred's perspective and really only absorbing that. And so like anytime anyone did anything against Uhtred, even if they were in the right, the second or third time I watched it, I was like, oh, that person has some good rationale for why they're acting like that. First time I watched it, I was like, you're being mean to Uhtred. Stop it now.
Being mean to Uhtred.
Getting triggered.
But when you think about it, here's Ethelwald. Ethelwald was definitely kind of, he was whoring and drinking in season 1, but he goes to the Battle of Ethandun. He proves himself there. Pretty much all season 2, he's on the Witten. He's helping make decisions.
I see it as a king would see it.
Seems to be doing everything right to earn respect, right? And I think in his head, he's like, you know what? I am technically the heir to the throne. My dad was the king. I wasn't ready. And I think like in his head, if I can prove myself by the time Alfred's reign is over, maybe that will be my chance to become king. Maybe then he'll recognize me as a respectable person to lead. But then he's witnessing Edward being groomed to be king, and he's realizing, there's really no shot for me. There's probably not going to be a shot for me to be king right out. I'm going to have to act to do something about it. So I think he sees that, and he's going to start making some moves.
Yeah, this is where season 3, Ethelwald finally starts making moves. Pretty much even throughout the first half, even probably through these episodes, I don't think anyone really takes him seriously, anything he can do seriously. Whether it's the Danes he allies himself with, or Alfred or Uhtred, I don't think anyone takes his potential, what he does, seriously. Because he has kind of, in season 1, he kind of was the joke to everyone, or the liar, and everyone knew his intention, but no one thought he would have the means or the will to carry out his plan.
Yeah, I think you can always tell he's intelligent.
Yes,
I think you can always kind of tell that. But
he knows everyone's motivations.
Yeah,
like
he knows like their
perspective on things.
Exactly. It's like we said when we were talking to Harry. He knows like everybody's like what to say to anybody at any time to like convince them of something, or to try to convince them of something.
Yeah.
but he knows what to say to each person.
Yes.
So pay attention to when Ethelwald. I don't think you pay attention to it when you first watch it, but the camera really goes to him every time either Alfred says something to Edward to try to groom him, or every time Edward like falls over or something. The camera pans to Ethelwald reacting to that.
Yeah. We also find out too that Edward, Alfred's son, has had some bastard children, some woman who's like not of royal birth or anything like that.
Yeah.
And everyone sort of interprets this for how Alfred was when he was younger, just going around humping. But he does actually like this girl.
Yeah. Seems like he loves her.
Yeah. And it turns out, though, that this girl was someone that another character we're introduced to in this episode, Sigebrit. He liked this girl. It's like a passing sentence that I think Ethelwald says, that Sigebrit's probably going to start conspiring against Edward when he starts to be up for king, because Sigebrit liked this girl that Edward impregnated.
Right.
So like we said, then Haston, he's meeting with them. He's, acting like he's one of them. He's like, oh, my wife's Christian. Oh, yes. We love
He's like,
Christian.
I'm going to make my kids Christian. I've already talked to the priest. And Bianca's like, oh, like, I haven't heard that. Or he said it's news to me. Because Aylesworth is like, that's good news.
Oh, yeah. Aylesworth is
certainly news.
Oh, yes. Oh.
See, Heston also knows what to say.
He's like, oh, yes, Christian. If Uhtred just learned these lines,
By the way, I can really relate to Heston in this scene. By the way, he's ripping meat off the bone, whatever he's eating. That's me every time I eat like baby back ribs or something. He's like just yanking it out.
I know. Good Christian guy here. This guy with this full beard with the what are those, like runes or something in his beard?
I don't know if they're pieces of bone or a horn.
Oh yeah, sorry. He's got the teeth in the bottom here, but he also has like metal clamps.
He's just got like
he looks
he's
so
arguably, I would say, the most Viking-looking character out of the Vikings.
Yeah, besides
I would go that far.
Ragnar, I would say that. Yeah,
besides Ragnar with the head tattoo. Yeah. Good point.
Then we also find out, like we said, Alfred, he's not doing hot. They're at the table. He like vomits. Everyone notices. He looks like shit, and he's not doing really well.
So history check here too.
Yes.
Alfred the Great in real life was also, historians believe he was also sickly. And historians think he may have had Crohn's disease, is what they think, the real Alfred.
Okay.
So that's just a little piece of history and a little bit of the historical accuracy of the show. The real Alfred, actually, they do think he was sickly. Yeah,
another show of Vikings, they portray Alfred as being sick too. There's periods where he's down and out with his illness, things like that. So it seems like it's something that people pretty readily accept. Like we said, he's not doing well, and this also helps spur everyone else to start making moves. As we said, Ethelwald to start making moves, the Vikings to start making moves down the line.
Yep.
His weakness is what everyone's interpreting as this is the time to act.
Yeah.
Also, Gisela, Uhtred's bae, is preggo again.
She is. She is awesome.
She's the best.
She keeps him in line, man. She just he comes. I love the exchange they have where he she's like, "This will be the last son." That's not something you can prevent. Oh yes, it is. I know how.
She's like, I know how. He's like, you wouldn't do that to me, would you? You wouldn't do that to me. Like, and she's like, maybe for a bit.
How can you not watch their exchanges and like at the end of their exchanges and say to yourself, like, how could you ever say they're not the perfect couple?
They're
like the perfect couple. Anyway.
Also, we didn't mention a real big thing, Colby. We didn't mention this huge part of the plot. Uhtred has a new haircut.
I know.
I did like his other ones though. When I go back and watch them, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're Dane,
he can never really look bad, I guess. It's like Bianca said in season 1, even his scars are handsome. Season 2, that was actually.
Yeah, season 2, yeah.
Beginning of season 2.
Episode 2.
So we also just get a brief shot of Sihtric and his wife and child. Uhtred comes back to the house saying, we have to march, we have to go. And Sihtric's pumped. And he says something to the effect of pretty much, "Oh, finally!" And his wife hears him, and she like hits him. He's like, "I'm a warrior."
Uhtred and his bros, Citric, the Irishman Finnan, and baby monk Osferth. They're sent out to go get Bloodhair, and they end up capturing Skade. And it's a pretty cool scene where they're all working together, and they come across a church where Bloodhair and Skade had just tortured a bunch of monks the night before.
Yeah.
And baby monk Osferth just walks up and he's like, "I'm a little harmless baby, you gotta surrender."
Love this scene. By the way, my bro moment in this episode is a small bro moment, but it came right before this happens, and it's when you know they've got a plan. The Uhtred crew has a plan, and it's to send Osferth out, and he's going to distract them, the main guards of this church, because they're going to be looking at Osferth just casually strolling up to them, and meanwhile they're all going to go stealth mode and surround them. And right before they go to do that, I don't know if you noticed this, it happens real quick. Citric and Finnan like do it like a axe to sword like cling. They're like, "Yeah, let's go." Cling, as if you would like fist bump somebody out before you go into the game. And I'm just like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome."
I didn't notice that. No,
It's really quick.
That's your bro moment, though.
That's my bro moment.
I have to say, when I was writing down my bro moments for this half the season, Finnan was pretty much in like all of mine.
He really comes into his own this season.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump out a limb. I'll make my official call, when we do part 2. But I'm pretty sure Finnan's gonna be my bro of the season here.
The bro of the season.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I mean, because I remember him being a real bro before, and then I thought it really shone through in season 2. Mm-hmm. He's definitely a bro in season 2, but Bianca took my award for season 2. And to me, though, it seems
I think that's well deserved.
I think Finnan might earn it. We'll wait and see. I still have to watch the last 3 of season 3
to
here,
rewatch them.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's go back to that scene where they ambush, like Osferth walks out, and Osferth is like, "You guys can surrender, or I'll smite you."
Yeah. What does that mean? What is smite?
What is smite?
Well, it's a word, isn't it? He's
a great scene.
Such a little smartass in this.
He is.
And he does about jack crap though in this whole thing. Like he does.
He has some cool moments though.
He clubs like one guy is the only thing I can remember.
I think he knows he's not a warrior, right? I mean, he wants to be, but he just knows in his heart he's not that kind of person.
Yeah, but it's like, why are you out there then with the warrior crew?
Because he can distract them while they go and surround them. It's perfect. That's why he's not the one going to attack with the surrounding thing.
Makes sense. So anyway, though, they get in there and it's just Skade. She curses Uhtred.
You really see the fear on Uhtred's face here.
Yeah, and Citric, because they're both raised as Danes, so they're both like, well, this is real, this is legit, because science, sorceresses and such.
Yeah,
and
randomized control trials.
Yeah, and then Citric later he explains, like, because you're like, well, why don't we just kill her? And like, because they bring her with them back to the fort where they meet up with Alfred.
Before they go into the church, Finnan says, "Let's just burn the church down." And that was probably the best advice he ever gave Uhtred.
Uhtred did not take. He should have. Oh, yeah. And also, too, a thing that Finnan did, I think, is before this happened. Yeah, because they were out in the woods. I think this was before, but it was definitely this episode where Finnan, he comes up to a guy, and he's like, he comes up. Oh, yeah, I think it was maybe someone that fled away from Bloodhair's attack at the church or whatever. And Finnan comes up to this guy with his sword, and he's like pointing it right at his chest. He's like, "Although I have a sword at your heart, I am a friend.
I'm a friend.
I am a friend."
He's awesome.
He's so funny.
He is.
So anyway, though, they capture Skade. Citric fills them in. He's like, the reason we can't kill her, because then that won't kill the curse. That means Uhtred
he'll forever have the curse.
Curse forever. So then that's kind of the rationale for keeping around. And Finnan's like kind of like being logical the whole time. He's like, well, don't just things happen? Don't bad things just kind of happen, you know? And
Yeah.
everyone's like, nope, curses. Curses.
Fate. And curses.
Fate.
Yeah.
Destiny.
Yes.
It's all, you know?
Yes.
They meet up with Alfred. They get Skade. They lock her up. Eventually, Alfred wants to go down and check her out.
Super weird.
Yeah. He has, you know, we saw in his desperate moments, he does turn to pagan things. And this is something, too, I think I should mention is that even though everyone is very Christian, who's Christian in this show, the gods that the Vikings have were actually the gods that even the Anglo-Saxons had years before. There's a lot of similar or the same figures, same gods in like the early Germanic religion. They might have just called them something a little bit different than like how the Vikings did. So like this was, you know, something that their ancestors worshipped as well. They worshipped Thor, Odin, you know, people like that. And so, you know, I think a lot of people they're devoting everything to Christianity because it's like the singularity. It's the pure. There's one thing, unites everyone under that one thing. There's one God.
Mm-hmm.
These are the rules. They're very clear. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think that's why everyone's like on board. And with that, but you know, I think that's why everyone still kind of turns to that in the show every now and then. And Alfred, we saw him in season 1. He turned to Islet when his son was sick. You know, when he was having when he was having real bad abdominal cramps. And now he's like at the worst of his health right now. And he's like, let's go to some pagan here and find out the news. She tells him he doesn't got another summer. And he's like, I've been doing my summer at-home workouts, though, for my summer bod.
This sucks. I was going to go to the beach.
What are my followers going to think?
You just see like Alfred like taking like getting portraits done of him and like
portrait,
like
a full on
like at a beach. Like yeah. Just like arms up like I'm at the beach.
They had to stand there for days.
You had to just
at the beach. Oh, you got your portrait.
It's gonna get so many likes.
So many likes. Can't wait to post it in my hall.
I know. I want to put this right on my wall. That's where it started. That's where Facebook got it. I think it was back from the
now you guys
times. Now you know. He used to put his pictures up there, and people would come and say, "I like that," or they just walk by.
And they said, "Tap right here if you like it."
Yeah. Okay, this has gotten a little too silly.
Back to seriousness.
Sorry.
Alfred is gonna die. Anyway, then Skade, she's like, blood hair, blood hair, blood hair. And everyone's
all
like,
night long.
All night. And then so everyone's like, can't we just kill her? And Uhtred,
everyone says
everyone takes turns at saying, can't we just kill her? Stiappa, Aethelwald.
They're like after one person goes, they go back to her. She's like, okay, maybe he'll listen to you. Why don't you go try?
But Uhtred's like, let's use her as like an alarm bell to attract blood hair here, and then we can attack him and all that stuff. They leave her out on the ramparts, and it works. Blood hair comes. He brings some hostages. He starts just killing hostages. He's just bam, bam, bam. And they're like, no, stop. And then Uhtred just comes out with Skade. And he's like, you will stop or I will have my way with her and then let every other man have his way with her and then I'm going to kill her. And then he's like, all right. And blood hair is like so whipped, by the way. Blood hair is like so whipped. And I don't use that word easily because I think a lot of guys use it to put other guys down who, value their relationship. But blood hair is genuinely whipped. He has no say in the relationship, and he does whatever, no matter what guy she's currently with.
He's more whipped. He's more whipped by Skade. Yeah, He's more whipped by Skade than Ubba was whipped by Story. So,
Ooh, burn! Whew, gotta get some ice on there.
So anyway, that's
So he stops killing,
he stops killing.
and he listens, and he gives up the hostages, and then he leaves, and then Uhtred, as always, he's like, we should attack now then, while he's all confused, we'll lead him away. We need to get the Mercians.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sends Finan to go get the Mercians. So Finan goes then to go get the Mercians. Yeah. Uhtred leads then like a sort of real obvious trail for the Danes to follow him because he knows that Bloodhair is going to come after him to get Skade. So they meet him at this hill, and then Finan, shows up with the Mercians, and Finan's like, hey, I got him! Look, I got him! He's like so pumped that, he brought him. And then they just proceed to pretty much wreck the Danes in a sweet fight. And then
it's a sweet
Alfred,
fight, but yeah.
Then,
so I wouldn't say it's wrecking them yet.
Yeah, I guess they're not getting wrecked yet. But I still think they're kind of winning.
They have the high ground, right?
They have the high ground.
So
Uhtred's like, I have the high ground. And Bloodhair's like, you underestimate
my powers. Don't try it, Bloodhair.
Don't try Bloodhair.
And that's when Bloodhair became Darth Vader.
And that's how that happened.
So there's a good fight. Great battle scene, by the way. We're getting
a
really
decent shield wall. Not a 3-level shield wall, but they do call shield wall, which still gets me excited when I hear shield wall.
Of course. And then guess what? We get another one. Steapa gets to call a shield wall.
Steapa is so awesome.
He is awesome. He's a cool character. I love this part. And my favorite part about this is the look on Finan's face when Alfred shows up. The way he's looking at the Danes like, yeah, what now? I love it.
He's taunting them left and right. Yeah, so then Alfred and them, they come from the rear. They pretty much sandwich the Danes in a shield wall sandwich. And Bloodhair, then he runs away. He bravely ran and turned away.
Bravely bore Sir Robin. Yes.
And then, so Skade, then she's pretty disappointed. Her man left. Then he lost. And, he didn't get the W. So then she's like instantly like, well, now I want Uhtred, I think. I think that's who I want.
Right.
And but then they get back then to Winchester. Turns out Gisela died in childbirth.
There's a moment in the episode in the fight where Uhtred yells, "Fight for your women and your children," and they just cut to Gisela struggling in childbirth, and it sucks. It sucks big time.
That was just really crappy.
Yeah.
To say, this is the first character that I really liked of the season, and there's plenty more to come. That died. I did not like it.
Heartbreaking. But again, here's the thing. In Uhtred's mind, he's going to think that this is because of the curse that's been put on him. Women died in childbirth all the time back then.
Yes.
So it's another example, like we've talked before. We talked about this with Harry, where it depends on the perspective of the character, right? Our perspective, knowing what we know nowadays, I guess she probably just died in childbirth. But Uhtred, this is totally the curse.
You start drawing conclusions, connecting the dots where there might be any connections. But it really sucks. It sucks. Uhtred's
phenomenal
sad.
Acting here, though, by the way Hild is standing there to give Uhtred the news, and she hugs him, and you just Alexander Draymond's face, the pain on the face.
And she was already buried at this point because it had been a while.
So yeah, and don't forget she was pagan, so they bury her like a Christian burial.
So yeah, that's the end of episode 1. So, best bro moment, Colby. What do you got?
Like I said, it was the clinking of the like little handshake before they went into the church,
that's
around
right,
the
yes.
church. They did the clink of the Citric and Finan. They did a little clink.
I would have to say mine was pretty much any time Finan did anything in this episode.
True.
But specifically, I liked when Uhtred came with his group and he met Finan and the rest of the Mercians, and Finan was just up there like just like so like happy that he fulfilled his end. What was your best moment from the episode?
Look on Finnan's face when Alfred arrived. Finnan's stealing the show in the first episode, really.
Yep.
So
I would just say the whole battle itself. People calling shield walls, Uhtred in his stance, making his battle face, and I think Citric goes down at one point, and like Finnan helps him up, or maybe it's the other way around. I forget who's. It was just so many like cool things happening. Stiapicon shield wall.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Awesome battle.
So then let's get into episode 2.
Episode 2. So in episode 2 is a very interesting episode. This episode's kind of about Uhtred not really liking that Gisela was buried in a Christian way, wants to correct that because he knows that's what Gisela would have wanted. That causes some issues. It causes the relationship with Alfred to really fall apart. And also because, we're going to talk about it in a minute, Alfred knows he's going to die soon. He knows he's not going to last another summer. And he is very worried that everything he's worked for so far is just going to be lost when he's gone. He's worried that Edward is not going to be ready to handle that. And he knows Uhtred is the best man to ensure that Edward develops into his full potential to carry on the goal for an England, a one England, right?
Yeah.
So Alfred's always trying to find a way. He knows Uhtred wants to do what Uhtred wants to do. He knows Uhtred wants to be a free man. It's the kind of thing where Alfred thinks the greater good for Alfred's purpose is to get Uhtred to just be there. So it's actually a huge compliment to Uhtred. It's the biggest compliment that a king wants you to be the guy to save. But unfortunately, it's not really what Uhtred envisions. So we kind of get Uhtred kind of breaks away from Alfred, and we'll talk about exactly how that happens because it was pretty nuts. Right. And at the end of this episode, I'll just say real quick that he back up with Ragnar and Brita. They go to Dunholm. They still have Skade. Uhtred, this is also kind of a brutal one to watch because Uhtred actually gets sick for a lot of this episode, thinking it's related to the curse again. Again, it was like wintertime, so maybe he was sick from something else. You could always find another explanation for it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too.
This is where the Uhtred and Alfred relationship really gets on the rocks. It's really coming crunch time for Alfred, like you said. He wants one thing, Uhtred wants another. So their heads kind of clash, and it kind of breaks him up for a bit. So he goes back to the Danes.
Again, we start the episode off with Uhtred trying to correct. He takes Gisela out with the help of Finan and Hild, and he takes her out, does a funeral pyre, burns the body, which is like the pagan thing to do, right? That's probably what Gisela would have wanted. And Finan tells him that, that's what God would have wanted, or the gods, which is cool.
It was a really cool moment when he was like, we did a good thing here. I think he said something like the God would be happy. The gods would be happy. He says both. That's sort of like, Finan is Irish. So it kind of, it's up in the air whether he's, he worships the old gods, Thor, Odin, or if he's Christian.
Right.
They never really hint at it, but he's definitely not as, Dane. He's really just a man of Uhtred.
So we also get in this one, Ethelwald is going to start making some moves.
Yes.
And the first move, so we didn't talk about it in the first one, but we met another character in the first one.
Brother Godwin is this little guy. He's a little person who, like you said, Brother Godwin has this gift to see sort of in the future. He tells Uhtred that he's going to have another son. He's kind of an important-ish kind of character. Ethelwald ends up using him, though, in this episode. Ethelwald, at the beginning of this episode, was doing some humpy with a lady.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, almost done. And
as we kind of learned from Harry, that's a little bit of symbolism. He did it a lot in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't show it, at least, in season 2, so you can almost assume that he wasn't doing it in season 2. He was maturing.
Yeah.
And now he's back doing it. So I think it's almost symbolism that he's kind of going back.
He tells Godwin that he can hook him up with this chick that he was just with if he just gets Uhtred to get really ticked off. That way he'll cause a scene, and what he's hoping for is that Uhtred won't serve Alfred. That way Alfred will be weakened, and Ethelwald's goal is to get other rivals of Alfred who necessarily wouldn't act on Alfred with Uhtred at his side
Right.
or if Alfred himself was strong. So now he sees Alfred's weak, and he wants to get Uhtred away from him. So he's got a whole open opportunity to get some other people in there. So he uses Brother Godwin. He says, Brother Godwin, you can get with this chick if you take Uhtred off. So then Uhtred, he's with Alfred, Aelswith, and everyone in there. They come and they're like, hey, we like you, Uhtred. You're our pagan guy, but you can't go like digging up in the Christian grave, And he's like, oh, it's just my wife. And everyone's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aelswith's
What she would have wanted.
kind of acting up, though. She's like, pagan, I don't like you doing your things in my Christian place. Shit ain't Christian. Brother Godwin just sort of like, well, she was, terrible in there, so she shouldn't have been in the first place. He corrected that error that was made.
He's like, anyway, she was married to Elfric, so pretty much, she was a whore anyway. So
yeah, pagan whore, and just going off, and he just keeps leveling it on Uhtred.
Uhtred's like, and he keeps coming at him. He even stands up for like the first time and starts walking toward Uhtred.
Yeah,
just spewing this hate.
And Uhtred's
like, stop.
Make him stop. He's looking at the king. He's like,
he's looking
make
at the
him
king.
Stop, Lord. Make him stop.
Please make him stop. Or I'm
and
not going to be able to
and
control myself.
Alfred and the other priests, they're even like telling this guy, that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. But he doesn't. He just keeps getting right in his face. And Uhtred is like, I mean, imagine like someone keeps coming at you, and his temper is just building.
Mine was building.
Just lets out like a slap.
Uhtred slapped this guy to death. Uhtred slapped this guy to death, people.
What kind of power do I have in these hands? Yeah, so Uhtred like didn't realize that. I mean, he hit him. He didn't think it would kill him. He thought, the guy deserved that. He was talking smack,
Uh-huh.
So Uhtred kind of does like a walk back, like, all right. They check him, and he's like, he's dead. And Uhtred's like, say what? Please no. Alfred, so listen, you can't kill a priest no matter how it happens, no matter you meant to do it or not.
In front of all the witnesses too.
Yeah.
In front of everyone who could be a reliable witness, from the king to the priests, the other eldermen.
So Uhtred has to fight his way out because Alfred was sees him.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. Alfred's it's pretty sweet escape. Uhtred does, and he retreats back to Beoc. Is it Beoc? No, they just go to his house.
Yeah,
I think it's just his house. Never mind.
Staying in Winchester there, wherever his family was at. He's with his kids, and Citric and Finnan are posted up outside with their boys, just like, you ain't getting in. You ain't getting in. And Stiapa's there, and he's come down with some men of Winchester. And it's really funny, the interaction between Finnan and Stiapa. There's a bunch of fun interactions between Stiapa and Finnan. But Stiapa's yelling, and he's like, Uhtred, come out. Don't make me step on your Irishmen.
They let Hild pass. And they're like, you let her in, but not me. And then he's like, we're afraid of the abbess.
Bianca comes in too, and everyone's just convinced, and Bianca and Aethelwald come in. Bianca's like, hey, if you pay the Were Guild, you're fine. And then Aethelwald's like, that's not it. And
Aethelwald's so smart. He's like, they want more than that.
Mm-hmm. So then Bianca's like, yes, that's not it. They want you to swear your sword to Edward. And Uhtred is like, I can't do that, because that means I'll be working for Edward, who is much younger than Uhtred. I'll be working for him for the rest of my life then. I won't be able to do anything. Bianca kind of straightens him out, though. He's like, sorry, you have to live forever as a lord. And
it's true. It's true. It's you have a way better life than most people this time, and 90% of people who live in this time period.
Yeah.
So anyway, but Uhtred, we all know Uhtred's got his goal. He wants Bebbanburg back. He wants his land.
He doesn't want any restrictions with that. He goes out then. He acts like he's going to go with them. He does go with them. He gives his gear, though, the Finnan, and he's like, you know what to do. And you're like, all right, he's obviously doing something.
And I like this. I like this. He goes, Stiapa, my friend, I will go with you. And Stiapa has this huge sigh of relief. He's like, thank you, Lord. Like he didn't want to fight because he likes Uhtred,
Yeah.
He does. He respects Uhtred a ton. He's
That is
relieved that
something-
Uhtred's not going to try to fight his way out and puts Stiapa in a tough position. He's like, thank you, Lord. You know, like, I like that moment.
Stiapa is definitely more loyal to Alfred. That's, his lord. But he's even said multiple times, that he trusts Uhtred with his life.
Yeah.
He's fought with Uhtred a bunch of battles. They're warriors, so they're like bros, but Alfred is, always at the top of Stiapa's list of people to listen to. So Uhtred goes back. They go to the room then. Everyone's there. Alfred's like, all you have to do, to get out of this is to just swear to Edward. Come on, just do it. I need this. Come on.
Yeah.
And Uhtred's like, nope, yoink, and just puts a knife to Alfred's throat. And everyone's like, what's going on?
Everyone's like, whoa.
I'm like, what is going on?
We were freaking out when we watched this.
I was kind of like frustrated with Alfred. I was like, can't you just let him get off?
Yeah.
Like, that guy was asking for it. It's not Uhtred's fault that his slap is so mighty that he can kill a man. You know what I mean?
Everybody knows. If you were in that room, you know that priest deserved it, dude. A man's wife just died, and you're calling her a whore over and over again?
Just died. She was just in the ground, then out of the ground, then in a fire. But she was just in the ground.
And they all saw that.
They all saw it. Uhtred takes Alfred then, with the knife in his throat, back for some one-on-one alone time. Yes. No, not that. No, stop that. And Aethelwald, when this is happening, Aethelwald's like, how terrible.
I know. I love this.
He's like, this is madness. Looking around, just like enjoying this. Because in his head, he wanted Uhtred to be away from Alfred, but I don't think in his wildest dreams it was going to work out this
Not like
good.
this. Yeah.
This good. Imagine you want like a couple to break up, like your sister's dating a guy that you don't like, and you're just like, I'll sow these seeds and this will make them break up. Then the next day she's like torched his car and there's a warrant out for his arrest. And you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. It's a pretty cool one-on-one scene here, though, with because Alfred's not gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so scared." No, Alfred's just giving it right back to him, even though he's held at knife point, like your gods are a lie, like you're gonna burn in hell.
Yeah.
And
It's like, Valhalla's a lie.
Valhalla's a lie. And Uhtred like knees him in the stomach,
and his stomach is tender.
I know. You're already like. So like when they show the scene they show when like Alfred gets on the horse in the first episode, what I'm talking about? Like he just looks so frail. He has trouble getting up on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes hard to watch this season because of how frail he looks. Yeah. And then he gets like crushed in the stomach, and it's like even more. It's like ooh.
And then Uhtred kicks him again, like while he's down. Like oh man. Uhtred runs out.
Says he's gonna like tear down Wessex now. Like
he's like, oh, burn it to the ground or something. Uhtred, parkours out.
I was gonna say that he parkours his way out of Winchester.
During his parkour, though, Stiapa, who should have went to the Olympics for the javelin throw, spears Uhtred as he's like climbing over a house, nicks him in the shoulder.
Well, that's why he didn't make it to the Olympics, is because he didn't hit. He missed.
God,
so he's not that good.
See, that's why you got on the committee this year, not me.
But you're right. He does have a great throw, and he does miss. He like nicks his shoulder. Yeah,
just nicks him.
Then there's the scene, and it shows Alfred super upset.
Yes,
because Alfred feels like Alfred. That's the face of a guy who knows he messed up bad.
I think he's also just kind of hurt because even though he would never admit it to anyone, I think he likes Uhtred, and that's a relationship he likes, he values, even though, because we saw at the beginning that he was like, oh yeah, give him a little bit more, Uhtred, beat my son up, like he values him. And then
he does.
He asks everyone to leave, and he's like, he doesn't like have like, he's not sobbing, but he's just sitting there, stone faced, tears welling up in his eyes.
Yeah.
They decide then they're going to ride to Dunholm, meet with Ragnar. As we said, Uhtred gets sick on the way, though. Everyone's thinking it's the curse. But if you're like us, you're like, well, you got a cut. Everyone pointed out that he got a decent nick in his shoulder. So, if you get infection back then, you could die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you
and
remember
like I said earlier,
Game
it's
of
like
Thrones,
it's like winter time, so he's probably cold.
he's
You
cold.
know what I mean? Like it's
Stressful. He's got all the, hormones out of whack from the stress, but he's not doing well. And he ends up in a cart having some visions. As, we said, it seems like everyone who's on our dream team has to happen at some point, it seems like, Ragnar Lothbrok had one. Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher had one. And Uhtred sees Leofric, the guy who coined the term arsling that everyone likes to use.
a fan favorite season 1, totally.
Fan favorite, yeah. And he's back in ghost form here, just, rallying up Uhtred like, why are you turning as a traitor? Alfred is shitting his guts out, and he's like, for Wessex, and what's your excuse? Blah, 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 blah. And
Awesome. Was not expecting to see Leofric again. That was definitely a delight.
It was great to hear. And he was saying arsling again.
So meanwhile, so he's sick, but Ethelwald goes and gets a couple men. So he recruits a couple guys, says he's going to pay him to be his bodyguard. But then he travels to see Ethelred. He starts conspiring with him to try to go against Alfred.
He also kind of mentions in passing, well, why don't you kill Ethelfled too? So Ethelred's kind of like, maybe I will. After that stop, then he goes to Bloodhair. And it was really funny too when he was like going to Bloodhair. He told one of his guys, he's like, hold up the branch. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And everyone's like, what does the branch mean, Lord? It was just a funny scene. So he goes
My
to
arm's
Bloodhair.
tired, Lord.
And like we said, he's using Alfred's weakness and Uhtred's absence as his recruiting tool. Then we see Ethelred does order Ethelfled's death.
Adhelm looks concerned.
Yes.
Any interaction in this season so far with Adhelm and Ethelred, where last season it seemed like they were the best friends anybody could have, this season there's Adhelm always kind of ends the conversation looking kind of concerned about what Ethelred's saying.
Yes. Ethelred's definitely a little less focused on even maintaining a kingdom as he is just doing things in spite of other people now. That's
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
His public policy is be mean to this person. I don't like them. We're not sitting with them at lunch kind of policy. And Adhelm wanted some political reform,
Adhelm cared
taxes.
about
Yeah, so
traveling to Dunholm, because actually they say they think Brita will know what to do.
That's
Brita's
right.
At
Yes.
Dunholm.
Because Brita also
this course
likes to
this
take
cursed.
mushrooms.
Yeah, she does.
Brita likes those
She's not
mushrooms.
She's not like a seeress, though. I don't see her as a seeress.
No. In the books, though, she
David.
was trained by Raven to a degree, who I think Raven was a seer. Raven was the blind father to Ragnar the Fearless, or Ragnar, the current alive Ragnar, his grandfather, or Uhtred's grandfather.
We're going to meet our next new main character. As Brita is watching them on the hill, we meet Canute.
Bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. So the guy's name, that's the new character, his name is Canute. And Brita are on the hill, and he says a few things there that was like,
Wait. You're missing a big thing about his character. This guy is flaming red ginger.
He does have the reddest hair.
Like sailor's warning, sort of red.
Yeah, it's true.
Ovechkin jersey in the background red.
That's pretty red. So he is a redhead. He very much resembles
Tormund Giantsbane.
Yes.
Tormund was Norwegian. Tormund is Norwegian as well. Scandinavian blood, man. Either blonde or ginger, I guess.
So anyway, he's up there, and you can tell he likes Brita with a couple of things he says. He's got a crush on Brita.
Just outright saying he wants to lay with her.
Yeah. It was a hint. I looked at Steve. I was like, I think he likes her. Anyway, they get to Dunholm. And just like every time I've got the flu, my mom's always done this. She goes out, she chops off a goat's head, puts it on a giant pole, and she just goes and sticks it in the ground. Feel better immediately because science.
Because of science.
In modern healthcare. But yeah, so Brita takes a head, puts it in front of Skade, and it like creates like this force field. And the curse just can't go through it. Or whatever. I don't know. Something happens. I don't know this. I don't know the science behind it. I can't speak to the science behind the head, but instantly Uhtred's like, feel good?
And this is one thing we did talk about though before, that it's most likely that Uhtred is attributing this to, all right, they found a cure for the curse. Goat head on spike works against sorceress. Yes. But we thought more rational explanation was Uhtred probably had an infection from his wound. He was in the cold, hormones all worked up, stress, wife died, and now he's with his brother Ragnar in Dunholm around a fire, getting his belly full.
Getting food, getting good water, good ale.
Good ale. Ale will kill you.
Yeah, oh yeah. So there's like, yeah, exactly. Another rational explanation for why he might be feeling better. So there you go. But anyway, now here we're all done home now. It's pretty cool. Ragnar, we get Ragnar back. Who doesn't love Ragnar? You know, Brita's there. And Canute is like, I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that you can switch the two middle letters in his name. And because that's what he's acting like when we first meet him. I'm sorry. Magnus Brune, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who plays Canute, does a great job. But
Yes.
You're clearly not supposed to like him because he's just being mean to Uhtred the whole time, calling him
Canute
a Slayer.
Canute is just acting like a total Canute right now.
It's like, come on, dude. Like, everyone here is having a good conversation and you're just being mean.
He's just poking and prodding him though.
He is. Which is a pretty Viking thing to do.
Yeah, it's still a Viking thing to do, but everyone knows he's trying to be a dick. And by the way, Canute, bless me, Canute is Ragnar's cousin too. So that's a fun fact for everyone. But anyway, Ragnar and Brita are just so tired of Uhtred coming and going. They just want to keep Uhtred. So Ragnar's like, all right, now you have to say it. You got to say it. I'm a Dane for life. Uhtred's like, I'm a Dane for life. Ragnar's like, come on. Uhtred's like, I'm a Dane for life. And everyone's just like pounding the tables.
Yes.
He just makes him keep yelling it louder. And it's a great scene. But like Finnan's kind of sitting there. He's like, I'm not Dane. I don't know.
Yeah. Finnan's like, you can see Finnan's a little worried about all this right here. So he's concerned.
They all start talking about how Alfred is weaker. Now Uhtred isn't there. And they all recognize Uhtred's like a great warrior and probably one of the reasons Alfred is so successful. So like, maybe this might be a good time to go attack Alfred.
Yeah.
And Citric and Finn are just like, we don't really want to do that though, you know?
That's not why we came here. You know, we didn't come here to conspire against Alfred.
Yeah. Also, another little thing too that kind of has an impact on the story is Brita, when she's talking with Uhtred, mentions how Ragnar has children, but they're not hers because she is barren. So Ragnar is still with Brita, his main chick, but he also has a side chick where he gets his pups from, essentially. He gets his sons, because back then you want sons, right? In like today's day and age, it wouldn't be a big deal. You're just like, all right, fine. This is great. Don't have to worry about that. But back then you want to try and make 12 kids because probably only 3 of them are going to make it past 10.
I think that's pretty much it for this episode.
Yeah.
So, best bro moment.
My best bro moment. I had a few. So this is tough because I really like the scene where Finan is with Uhtred and he tells him that we've done a good thing here. God knows it. The gods know it. Really like
cool moment.
trying to be inclusive to Hild, who's there, and Uhtred, and possibly himself. He might be like on the middle. He doesn't know which way to go.
Yeah.
Also, too, Alfred does at one point when he's talking to everyone, or when Uhtred comes in, I forget what it is, but Alfred does say, the reason you're not like in jail right now is because of all the things you've done in the past, or like
the past months or something.
In the past months. And Bianca's like, in the past years, Lord. Like
that was mine.
Puts an asterisk right there. He's like,
that was my bro moment.
He's been doing this for like a decade or two now, most likely.
That was my bro moment for sure.
And then my next one is probably, well, I have a couple more to choose between. Is Ragnar and Uhtred when they're reunited. I love seeing
always great
brothers back together. And also Finan, the whole time when Uhtred was sick, was like, is someone making sure he's drinking? How much did he drink? Fluids, people. Modern.
When's the last time? Is it? We got to keep a log. Yeah.
And even when they get then to Dunholm and Uhtred's feeling better, he's like, how much of your plate did you eat, Uhtred? And Uhtred's like, most of it. And he's like, eat all of it. So
Finan is such a bro. He's just a bro moment machine.
Oh my God. So I'm going to have to give this I really like the Ragnar and Uhtred one, but Finan has like 6 throughout the episode. So I'm going to have to give it to Finan. Probably just when they're burning Gisela and he comforts Uhtred. Also, Uhtred was like standing really close to the fire when they first started burning her. I think he was considering hopping in, and Finan pulls him back.
Wow.
So I think that was
Steve.
a real bro moment there.
Deep.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Very deep. Okay. Very deep. Well, what was your favorite moment from the episode though?
I'm gonna have to say when Uhtred slapped Brother Godwin to death. Yes. Slaps him to death.
That was crazy. We freaked out when that happened.
We were dying laughing. Because it just seems so comical. He gets up, he asks for it, bam, he's down. Siapa's checking for a pulse, and he's like, he's dead. And we just start laughing. Oh my God.
Oh, that was crazy.
Oh,
well, I like the part. I just like the bro down between Finan and Stiapa. I like Stiapa's calling for Uhtred, and Finan's just like, shh, shh. Just shushing him. That whole bro down right there was
that was a good one.
Just fun. I like it.
And you said your favorite bro moment was Bianca, right?
I love the Bianca was like past years, like correction, get it right, Alfred. And that's like a pretty bold thing to do to the king too. So I just think so. Bianca like really kind of going out on a limb for Uhtred right there. So I like that a lot.
Ever since the last episode of the first season, Bianca has just been sassy. Like, he is not afraid to correct anyone. Like he's great.
Absolutely.
Another thing too, I think we should mention too is where do you fall on where you want Uhtred to end up? Do you want him? Do you like that he just keeps floating between sides? Do you wish he would stick with one side, whether he was Saxon or Dane?
It's one of the toughest questions of the show, and I think that's what's the hardest thing is he's respected more by the Danes overall.
Yes.
I mean, I think everyone respects what he can do, but like it seems like if he became a Dane, it feels like he could just become their leader. You know what I mean?
He could easily. His motivation for not being with the Danes, one, he's invested with Wessex. Two, like I said, he wants to own Bebbanburg. He doesn't want someone else to own him or to be like a man who, just watches the place or anything.
Right.
So that's why his path has kind of led him down the Saxon way. But like you said, I feel like if he went to the Dane side, though, he could be the freaking king of the Danes, and he could just own, Bebbanburg with the king of Danes. But I guess he just.
He could, I think as a Dane, he could take land or something, but that would never be his rightful land. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wouldn't be like by law.
He wants his by law rightful, what he deserves land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what he wants. So I want him to get that back. And I know the way to do that is to join with the Saxons. So that's why I kind of at times want him just to be on the Saxons, but at the same time, Alfred just makes it so difficult.
He does. At this point, I'm kind of like hoping he would stick with the Danes, but I'm also like, but I don't want him to fight Alfred. Like,
right.
Like maybe let's just like capture Mercia. Let's go there.
Absolutely.
Let's jump into season 3, episode 3 then.
Yes.
This one is a little bit more about the rest of the Danes and Aethelwald too, because Aethelwald is with the Bloodhair and Heston group. They're all trying to get Uhtred to really solidify with them and Ragnar, fight against Alfred. Also, at this episode, this is where Aethelflaed finds out from Aldhelm, actually, that an assassin is coming to get her.
Yeah.
And she ends up getting a message to Beocca. And Beocca then is supposed to then get Uhtred to come and get her. So then that whole thing, really, that whole dynamic of, Aethelflaed wanting Uhtred, who Uhtred has always been a sucker for, Aethelflaed, drives that wedge between him and the Danes, as well as Uhtred, not really wanting to attack Wessex. He still cares about Wessex. So this one then, that's really what this is about, is just the conflict then that arises between him and the Danes because of what happens. Yeah, I mean, so it starts out and Uhtred's like swinging a sword around by a fire, and it's pretty obvious he's conflicted because Leofric's ghost comes back again, and he's just taunting him again, and Uhtred says he's a Dane, and he wrecks a candle, swinging his sword when he says it. So he's serious.
Very serious. And then we get a cool scene where Aethelflaed's like in her office, in her home office. No, but somebody puts her hand around her mouth and says, I'm not going to hurt you. It turns around. It's Aldhelm has come, and he's come to warn her, your husband's going to want to kill you. You need to go hide somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And she is very reluctant to believe him. She's like, why would you help me? You've never done anything for me. You've always been my husband's dude. And so I don't have any reason to trust you. And he's just like, it's like, you know what? You don't have any reason to believe me. I've been horrible, yada, yada, yada. But I'm being honest now. I said, and he tells her, I'm for Mercia. My blood is for Mercia. And that's, why he's doing this.
He even says he's disappointed in the way that Ethelred has turned out as a king.
Absolutely. So we saw it in the first couple episodes where you could see the look on his face, but now we kind of see him going into action and changing his ways, warning Ethelflaed. So Ethelflaed is, he pretty much convinces her, right?
Yeah.
Finally, after a pretty cool conversation between Ethelflaed, and I think this is a great, time to talk about like the real Ethelflaed. I know we talked about her a little bit last episode, so I'm not going to say all that stuff again. But it should be recognized that in history, Ethelflaed was a really strong, independent woman, and she was in history known to have helped suppress Viking raids in Mercia. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. And I would say that Millie Brady really embodies that in the way she plays the role. I think she exemplifies the real Ethelflaed as far as what we know about the real Ethelflaed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in the story too writes her in a way that she's a dynamic character. I think a lot of times when a show wants to say a woman is strong, they just make her really tough, and she doesn't give a crap. And she's good at fighting, but Ethelflaed has been vulnerable. She's been taken advantage of. She's been beaten. But she stays strong,
and she's smart. She's got a lot of Alfred in her.
Exactly,
she's got a lot of Alfred in her.
Yes,
so you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool. We also see, we saw it, I think earlier too, is that like the men of Mercia, the soldier of Mercia, are like loyal to her.
Yes.
They are like, they love her, and she has like an awesome speech she gives at one point. And it's just like, oh yeah, I would follow her, absolutely. She's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
She's got a lot of her father in her for sure.
Yeah, so then she does leave. Like I said, she gets a note then to one of her servants or whoever, that is. They end up getting it to Bianca. But meanwhile, after she leaves, then Aldhelm, Ethelred, and the assassin, then they're like waiting outside of her little estate. The assassin goes in, comes back out, doesn't see anyone. So Ethelred kills him so he can't tell anyone. And it's really funny too. Just the reason I mentioned this because Aldhelm's like, this is the 9th century lord. Like, can't go around killing people. Like, Aldhelm is telling him that you are not woke. Ethelred, you're not woke with the 9th century here. You need to get.
He's
woke.
like, okay, boomer. Like, look.
Okay, boomer.
So yeah, Ethelred is really. I mean, he's always been a bad dude, but you don't like him any more in this season than you did last season. So,
nope. There is one really funny scene. I think it's in this first half with him and when him and Ethelred get back together, and when they finally get reunited. The reason she doesn't say anything to like Alfred or anyone is because she doesn't want the alliance between Mercia and Wessex to break. So she's just like, I'm going to keep this to myself. And
Aldhelm actually said that to her too. He's like, we can't do it without Wessex, so we can't. Because she said that. It's like when he came and like put the hand over, he was like, or she was like, why don't I just go back to my dad and just tell him, about all this.
Yeah.
And he's like, please don't, because like we need your dad, we need Wessex.
Yeah, because if they're separated, then they're vulnerable to the Danes, everything like that. So eventually, so then when they were united, she doesn't say anything. But then when the two of them are alone together, she's like, she's sitting at like a table and she like puts a knife in a table. You didn't seem surprised that someone tried to kill me. And he's like, oh, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Was that better? Or something like that.
The actor kills it. The guy who plays Ethelred does kill it.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. I thought when I saw it. Edward married the chick he impregnated.
Yeah, that's right.
Alfred,
against because last episode Bianca told Alfred like, here's how we fix this. We marry him to like another lord.
Yeah, because
we send her to a nunnery. No problem.
Yeah,
no problems.
They also, the motivation for that too was that they heard that everyone was gossiping, saying how Alfred was weak. So Bianca's like, let's give them some new gossip. They like royal weddings. Let's have a royal wedding.
Yeah, that's true.
Plus, too, like alliances are made through wedding or marriage. It's through royalty. It wasn't necessarily done out of love. It was arranged. Do this for resources, men, swords, titles, all that stuff. So
right.
So Alfred wanted to get him married, but Edward already married the chick that he had bastard children with. So everyone's mad because you can't marry a guy to someone if he's already married, because that just breaks Christian rules, man. So Alfred comes out with a genius plan to just throw her in a nunnery and, I don't know, give his kids to the church. And so they go down and do that. And So anyway, they cut back then to Dunholm. And by the way, Ragnar is just like a great spokesman, for tug of war. We've got Uhtred. Actually, Uhtred isn't pulling, but Finan, Sihtric, and the rest of Uhtred's crew are pulling against the Danes there. And Ragnar's just getting everyone hyped up,
Yeah.
And it's just a great scene. And eventually they're pulling. They're pretty evenly matched. Ragnar's, just drunk, and he just pulls out a sword and just like cuts the rope, and they like all fall down. He's like, I took down 20 men with one swing of my sword.
It's awesome.
It's just, Ragnar's just a freaking best.
I mean, being a Dane seems awesome. I mean, if you can get over the murder and the raping and the pillaging and the constant warfare, it seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's like one
Play
or
tug
two.
of war, mud hockey.
It sounds
You know.
really fun over there. Would you rather?
They do have a good
that?
time.
You know, I think I'd rather be there.
Me too.
So anyway, then Bloodhair, Haston, Aethelwald, that whole group, they hear some funds going down to Dunholm, so they're like, "We want to go to the party too," and then they show up, and they're like, "We want to come into the party," and Ragnar's like, "You guys can't come into the party," and they're like, "Oh, we want to." No, but anyway, they're there, and it's a really cool scene because this is where, like I was saying earlier, no one thinks anything really of Aethelwald's actions. And it also shows that Uhtred does care what happens to Wessex, even though he's saying, I want it to burn to the ground and I'm a Dane. Because he confronts Aethelwald. I guess he's kind of expecting Aethelwald would be like, oh, I got here on accident or something. He's like, no, I'm here. Like, I'm trying to get these people to turn against Alfred. Like, you're not there. Like, you're here too, so why are you mad? And Uhtred's like, well, you're never going to be king. Aethelwald's like, well, you don't have Bebember. And Uhtred's like, oh, and he's like, we're the same, you know?
Yeah,
like,
he said, yeah.
We've had uncles usurp us from our rightful title and our land. And Uhtred's like, I don't have anything to come back with you at right now, so I'm going to let you go.
Exactly. Ethelwald always mixing. He's stirring the pot this season. He's really stirring the pot.
Yeah. Also, Skade, she's still locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Uhtred doesn't want her, but she wants Uhtred now. She's like, well, if you're with me, that would be cool. Maybe I'll take a curse off you. And Uhtred's like, no way. Like, my wife was awesome. You suck.
Yeah.
But Bloodhair comes in and he's like super whipped. And Uhtred's in there and he like sees how whipped Bloodhair is. So he's just like, maybe I do like Skade now. And he just kisses her like that, just like that. And Bloodhair does not like this.
Not one bit.
That was Uhtred's intention, was to make Bloodhair mad.
Yeah, see, so again, you can tell Uhtred does not want to go up against Alfred. And the Dane leaders are starting to argue amongst themselves. But ultimately, they all agree that they will follow Ragnar.
Is like the leader of the Danes for their army to attack.
Yes. There's a scene where Alfred's getting dressed for battle, and he looks rough. It's hard to watch him. David Dawson, props to you, man. It looks tough. Like
anytime they put like his mail on, like anytime they like move it up and over and set it down like on his shoulders, like it looks like as soon as it touches him, it like brings him down like an inch into the ground. You know what I mean? And it's not like overacting. Like it just looks like
it's fantastic acting.
Somehow like so frail that this is just like so much energy for him.
I mean, he's super old. Like, I mean, he's got to be like 32 years old at this point. So, I don't know how old he was supposed to be, but obviously people didn't typically live as long back then.
Mm-mm.
And the makeup department also does a really nice job of making him look super sickly. And David Dawson does an awesome job at looking sickly and weak.
Aelswith gives a great like speech to Alfred at this moment too, like because Alfred is having some doubts that, like you said, he wants England to happen, and he's worried that it's not going to happen in his lifetime. And he felt like that was his goal. It felt like it was his duty.
Yeah. And
his wife just gives him a real good pep talk and tells him, what he has done and everything. I thought it was a pretty good scene between the two of them.
It is a cool scene. Moving forward, Biaka tells Uhtred. So had they arrived yet?
Yeah, they were there at some point. Him and Tura did get there.
Tura went up, yeah.
But they weren't making it clear exactly why they were there. Biaka was like, I have to formally banish Uhtred. That's why I'm here. And she wanted to visit her brother. That's why we sailed on a boat for, a week.
Yeah. Biaka has the letter from Ethelfled saying that she's at a nunnery and not to tell Alfred and stuff, and that they want Uhtred's help, right?
Yeah.
Uhtred, he's concerned. He, even though I think at first he's like, why should I care? Because they're mean to me. Why should I help? But you can tell that, he's probably going to end up doing the right thing. Like he always does the right thing. So
Uhtred finds out that Ethelfled is in hiding because her death was ordered by Ethelred.
Right.
And then he also heard that Ethelwald was in Mercia to see Ethelred.
Yep.
Like right before this all happened. So he connects the dots and he's like, so Ethelwald is probably why this is happening. So he goes up to Ethelwald and, he's like yelling at him. He's like, you better not, go to sleep tonight because I might kill you or something like that. And like
That's right.
Real
brutal.
And then Ethelwald's like, I'm not going to be taking this. And so he stands up in front of everyone. He makes a scene. And he's like, so what did Bianca tell you?
Yeah.
I bet you, did you hear this from Bianca? Is that why you're going to go help her? And he's like looking around. Everyone's paying attention,
Yeah.
And, all the other Danes are like, are you going to leave? Because Aethelwald's like, I think he's going to leave our army. And then even Ragnar's like, are you going to leave?
Yeah.
And Uhtred's like, yeah, I'm kind of whipped.
And this is brutal. This is brutal because Ragnar says some things that I didn't want to hear. He tells Uhtred, it's like, you're not my brother. He's like, you're no brother of mine. And oh man, that killed me. I was like, come on.
That was an anti-bro moment there, if anything.
It was very anti-bro.
Polar
That was
opposite
my
of
anti-bro
bro.
moment of the show. But yeah, so then at the end of the episode, I think it ends with Uhtred and Bloodhair are going to make the square.
Yeah, because Bloodhair wanted to fight Uhtred for Skade, and Ragnar didn't want that to happen. He didn't want to lose a Dane if, Uhtred won, and he didn't want to lose Uhtred, obviously, because it's his brother. So he's like, nah, we won't do that. But now I might as well, because so they allow it to happen, and then that's episode 3. Yeah. So best bro moment from the episode for
you. Here's my best bro moment. Actually, is a small little scene where Osferth approaches Uhtred, and he says to Uhtred, he says, sir, like, I had really a high respect for Gisela, for your wife. He's like, she was very, very kind to me. Would you allow me? I know she's, he knows that she's pagan, and obviously Osfer's, baby monk. He's a Christian, and he's like, would you allow me to pray for her? Uhtred, he was pissed about something. I think this is right after he was having the vision with Leofrich.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I will allow that, But I thought it was cool that he asked Uhtred's permission, because he knew Uhtred, might not want any monks praying for his pagan wife, right?
I think, too, he was just trying to, console Uhtred, because a lot of people since her death, haven't really taken the time to go up to Uhtred and say, dude, I'm sorry for your loss. That's, you know what I mean? Like, there was, Finan was at his, the fire. I'm sure him and Hild said something else to Uhtred, you know what I mean? But, I mean, since then, he's been, on the run from Alfred, fighting Alfred, to at Dunholm's, almost dying, so no one's really had the time to be like, hey, sorry for your loss. So I thought, that's a pretty good bro moment there.
Yeah. Small, they could have left that out probably, but it was very powerful to me. I really liked that moment. What about you?
I like that, but I'm going to have to say my bro moment is probably when Finn and Citric and Osferth are all sitting down with Uhtred. And it's really funny because Uhtred's like, he knows that Finan's going to keep telling him that we shouldn't work here, with these Danes. We should go, do something else. And Uhtred's like, immediately before Finan can say anything, he's like, I don't want to hear it, Finan. And Finan's like, that's all right. I'm just going to talk to Citric. And Citric's, right next to Uhtred. And he's like, this army is never going to hold Citric. And Citric's like, yeah, you're right, Finan. Like, it's never going to, so. And I didn't come north just to march south, on Wessex.
Yeah.
I could get behind marching on Bevembur. Then he turns to Osferth and he's like, I'm just going to talk to Osferth now. Osferth, like, I don't think we should do this. And Osferth's like, you don't have to tell me, Finan. Like, just like, and Uhtred's just like sitting there. You know what I mean? Like, I just really like that. Like, his bros just keep him in check.
They're keeping him in check. It's great. It's great.
I guess it's really a Finnan dominant one because he initiates it, but Osferth and Citric too really help.
But what's with Finnan stealing? Has Finnan been all three of your bro moments so far? What was your last bro moment?
Yeah, it was my last bro moment was
when
Finnan
burning
at the
Gisela.
fire. Yeah. And the first one was Finnan at the Battle of Mercia, or with the Mercians. Yeah.
Just stealing this season with the
bro moments. I'm telling you, he might have a clean sweep. We'll see.
Okay.
And then best moment for me was just Ragnar, his whole speech and just the energy he had during the tug of war that they were having there in the yard.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I would have to go with that one too. That's pretty awesome. I just love seeing that Viking culture, leisurely activity, recreational activity,
Yeah, classic Viking moment there, yeah.
Episode 4, let's get right into it. So now Uhtred's focused on finding Ethelfled, okay? But first, we have to have that fight with Uhtred and Bloodhair. They got to settle that dispute. I think Uhtred's about to kill Bloodhair, right?
Yeah.
And Ragnar comes in and shoves him off.
Yeah.
And he's like, fine, you won. Because Ragnar doesn't want to lose a man before they go and try to take Wessex. So
yeah.
So then Uhtred tries to go find Ethelfled. We get a lot of Ethelwald conspiring in this episode with none other than Canute. And Bloodhair is involved a little bit too. So it's very interesting. And then we get a fun scene where Heston and a few guys go to the nunnery. Uhtred had shown up. They're at the nunnery, and they think Ethelfled is here, right? There's a cool fight scene in this episode. And then we have, at the end of the episode, one of those I mentioned earlier, the least favorite scenes in The Last Kingdom. Maybe this is the least favorite scene in The Last Kingdom. Great scene, but man, is it hard to watch. Should I just say it now as the recap?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ragnar gets murdered in his sleep by Ethelwald at the end of this episode, and it is so... Nobody was ready for that. Were you ready for that? I wasn't ready for that.
No, and I think we talked about this. I thought he was going to wake up last second, stop him. I thought something was going to happen, but no, he gets stabbed to death in his sleep. And then when he's reaching for his sword so he can die with his sword in his hand, Ethelwald goes over and snatches it up. So then he can't get to Valhalla, because you want to get into Valhalla, you got to die with a sword in your hand. You have to die in battle.
Yeah, and you can see the pain in Ragnar's face when that happens. And then Ethelwald actually has a use for that sword. He sticks it in. He puts the knife in there was one of the ladies that was sleeping with Ragnar, puts it in her hand, puts the sword in her chest. So it looks like she killed him for some reason, that he defended himself at the end by killing her. So he tries to cover it up like that. But anyway, let's jump back a little earlier in the episode as we get into it, So we talked about the little fight scene at the beginning. Pretty cool one-on-one Bloodhair fight scene with Uhtred.
Yeah, and to make the square.
They make the square. Yeah.
But I mean, it immediately starts with them fighting. The episode goes right to them swinging swords, or Bloodhair's axe and Uhtred's sword.
Yep. But Uhtred wins the fight again, and he's able to leave with Skade. Because he won, because that's kind of the terms of the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were fighting over Skade pretty much. And then they leave, and then Ragnar, a lot of people were kind of mad at Ragnar for even letting him leave. Why don't we just kill him?
And Aethelwald goes up to him afterwards, and he's like,
yeah,
why are you letting him leave? If he goes back with Alfred, we are screwed with our whole plan. And
Ragnar lets it out.
Ragnar lets it out on him, because
blames Ethelwald
blames him for bringing this all happening, stirring it up, and he just beats him into the ground. But then Canute helps Aethelwald up, and he's like, you know what, you were right there. You're right to have said that there.
He says something like, that was weak of my cousin to let him go. Yeah, so Canute and Ethelwald, a bond starts to form here, and it's going to be a very important one. Anyway, Uhtred and Biaka, and they reassure Uhtred, they say to him, look, he is still your brother. And I'm still your sister.
Yeah.
Awesome moment.
Yeah, when Biaka and Tura, they part ways from Uhtred and his gang when they're going to rescue Ethelfled then. And yeah, Tura, she turns to Uhtred and she's like, you will always be my brother. You could just tell Uhtred needed it.
He needed that. He needed that big time.
He was just jaw clenched, and she said that, and his like eyes kind of just like got big. Like, guy needed it there. He needed
it. He needed it big time. Heston actually goes to Alfred, still pretending to be Alfred's man, even though we've seen him with blood hair and stuff. Tells him about Ethelwald's betrayal and the Dane army.
I guess what he's trying to do here is get him to act, or maybe get him to worry. It's really unclear why he does this, because he's definitely working with the Danes.
Yeah.
But then that's how they find out, though, that Ethelwald has been up to no good.
Yeah. So then Ragnar decides it's time to start moving the Danes. It's time to start moving this army. Let's do this thing. And at the nunnery, Batman shows up. So Ethelflaed's at this nunnery, right? And I think men started showing up, right?
They're like, "Oh, there's Danes outside," and they're actually meaning. We're thinking maybe it's Heston's men, but it's actually Uhtred's men. We don't know this yet, though.
We don't know this yet. And then we hear a voice, and then the camera pans up, and Uhtred's in the rafters of the ceiling, crouched down like a gargoyle, and he's like, and he says some cool line there.
He's like, because they're like, because they were arguing about like if they're Danes, because the one nun was yelling out like, "You will all burn in hell for what you've done," and one of the other nuns was like, "They're not Christian." She's like, "Oh, then I don't know what they need to tell them." So then Uhtred's like, "But what if I'm a Christian by birth, but a Dane at heart?" And he's just up in the, like you said, up in the rafters there.
Like, why?
Just like,
why? He didn't just like undo the back door, like lock the pick and walk in that way and just have a cool walk in. No, he scaled the building, somehow got through a window, probably did some monkey bars over to the spot, and then crouched down there. We cracked up when we first saw
Oh my god!
How did he get up there?
Such a classic, like Uhtred humor thing to do. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just because
hilarious.
Obviously, they're seeing his men outside, so it's like, why is he climbing in through the top when?
So anyway, so then they like sit down and they start eat. It's all good. They're at the nunnery. They're having a meal, and then there's a scene where Uhtred and Ethelflaed actually comes up to Uhtred and is very affectionate, and goes and kisses Uhtred, which is like, okay. And so Uhtred actually ended up stopping it,
But they did kiss, though. They did kiss,
but he kind of pulled away at the end. And then Skade also comes in and kisses him. and then she leaves, and Uhtred's like, "Who's next?"
And Uhtred was like,
Uhtred just wanted to take care of his horse, and he just has all these women coming and just trying to get with him. He's just trying to take care of his horse and brushing his horse.
Yeah, that's like, he was first in there brushing his horse. Ethelflaed comes in, kisses him. He gets back to brushing the horse. Skade saw this happen, sneaks in, kisses him. And he's just like, "Oh my god, like, I just got to finish this coat up on this thing." You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so funny. The father of Edward's suitor arrives. It's an interesting guy. And so now Alfred's trying to convince Edward, of his role. He's going to become king. You need to marry whoever I pick for you to marry. Do you think I wished my brother would die so I would become king?
Yeah. That was a big line, because Edward's going back and forth, and he's saying, like, I didn't want this. I don't want this. I want to marry for love. And Alfred's like, you've got a responsibility. I didn't want my brother to die. Like, my brother? Yeah. Do you think I wanted to
season
become
one,
king?
Bianca says, what if your brother died? You would be the king, probably, in season one. And Alfred's like, oh, pray to God that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to be king. And he ended up being a great king,
I'm sure he wish if he had the
point.
Choice between being a king and having his brother around, I'm sure he'd pick his brother.
Yeah. Yeah. But he makes the point. I think that starts getting through Edward's head a little bit.
Yeah.
But But they do send Edward's wife to a nunnery, and the children are taken by the church. So, and Edward actually swore on St. Cuthbert's teeth.
St. Cuthbert makes a cameo this season.
Yes, St. Cuthbert.
Good old St. Cuthbert. And, some of his body parts for people to swear on.
Yeah, portrayed by two incisors.
They get all the good roles, those two incisors.
Yeah. They were great, though.
Oh, my God.
They just killed it. So, anyway.
I can't think of anyone who does it as well as the two incisors who plays St. Cuthbert's teeth. Two incisors who played St. Cuthbert's teeth. David Dawson who played Alfred. Not even close. Not even close.
So that all happens in Winchester, and you can tell the father of this new wife he's very unsettled. He doesn't like that he's not being put up in the castle. He's being put up in an alehouse. He's not happy about that. He's like, what kind of respect is that? But then we go back to Canute, Bloodhair, and Ethelwald. They've got some plans. They think Ragnar was pretty weak in that decision. And Canute kind of sees this as a chance to maybe now I can kind of sneak in there and kind of take this thing over and become the guy. By the way, I think it's a good time for a history check with Canute.
Okay. So
there was a real Canute the Great. He was a king of Denmark, he was a king in England, and he was a king in Norway. This guy did, yeah. His reign lasted from 1016 to 1035. They think he was in his teens when he was like invading Wessex and what is now England. And I'm just thinking, like, this guy's like 16 years old, becoming king. And I'm like, when we're 16, we're maybe trying to get our license. We just got a learner's permit. That's a big deal.
We're just so incompetent compared to like the 16-year-olds who were invading Wessex at the time.
His name was Canute Swenson. I think I'm saying that right, but
God bless you.
Thank you. But yeah, so there was a real Canute that perhaps our Canute may have been based on. So
very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and Harry was telling us that Bernard Cornwell does a lot of history check-in when he writes his books. The books.
I think I saw something that he's
based on.
He's a storyteller, but he's also a historian.
Oh, yeah.
So he kind of blends it. Obviously, overall, it's a fictional show, but it really has a lot of aspects of truth to it, too. And cool. So they're conspiring, and Canute gets in Ethelwald's head a little bit, saying, like, Ragnar's going to kill you, dude.
He blames you. He blames you for Uhtred.
So he's going to kill you. So maybe you should, you don't want to die, you should kill him.
Yeah.
And Ethelwald is like, it's like, huh, you're not wrong. But anyway, we cut scene to back to the nunnery, and Heston arrives.
I think this is the best Viking scene from the season, or the best Dane scene.
Because we get some good Dane humor that was very frequent in seasons 1 and 2, especially 1. And season 2 too, with Siegfried and Eric.
Yeah, once Siegfried and Eric came in, their scenes, there was a lot of that classic Dane humor. I feel like we don't get that as much this season.
Bloodhair and Canute don't have a lot of,
they don't crack a lot of wise. Yeah.
Ragnar has some funny moments, especially like with the tug of war and stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, Bloodhair is not very funny.
Not a fun guy. He's really obsessed with
very serious,
blood.
Obsessed with blood, obsessed with Skade. Yeah. He's just freaking out the whole time when he doesn't have Skade. Yeah. What's she doing right now?
Oh my God, our joint Instagram account.
So here's a funny scene. They've got two or three men in front with knives to their throat, and they, like, give us Ethelfled. We want Ethelfled. Give us Ethelfled. And Uhtred's inside. They hear it. We're like, okay, you need to go to the main nun, right? The abbess, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to go out there and just tell them she's not here, because they can't know that we're here, like,
because
so
then
you need to go. Right. They don't know. They think Ethelfled's here. And so this nun doesn't want to do it, but they pretty much force her to go out there.
Well, she ends up like taking charge, though.
She does.
Because Ethelfled's like her servant, the one who gave like Bianca the note. She's like, I'll go out. And she's like, no, I should go. This is my house. Like, I should do it. You know, like she does. She bravens up to go out there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out there, man. I wouldn't be going out there. Unless I had a shield wall with me.
Yeah. So she goes, and they go out. And by the way, Heston's been yelling Ethelfled a bunch, saying we want Ethelfled. He's been very clear. He's been very concise with his words. There's been no misconstruing it for an Ethelred or an Ethelwald, which is very easy to do.
It's easy to do.
But you can tell he's saying Ethelfled. And so she goes out there and she's like, what do you want? And he just takes a second. He like looks at his men. Are you serious? He's like, Ethelfled, 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 Ethelfled. How many times do I have to say it? It's hilarious.
It is. And then she continues. She's like, because they had like killed another hostage. Then they had one more left,
and she's freaking out. She's like, "There's no Ethelfled here."
Yeah. They're like, "I don't believe you" or something. And so they kill the last hostage.
And then she asks again.
She's like, "What do you got?" She's like, goes on, "What do you want?"
And he's just like, Dagfinn.
And Dagfinn goes, Ethelfled.
It's hilarious.
Just turns to him and he's Ethelfled. Because he's not saying it anymore. You know?
He said it a million times. And
we do not do it. You have to watch it.
You got to watch
really
it. It's hilarious. And then it's not over.
Viking.
The scene's not even over yet.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not even done. Because she's like, she's going to sell this thing. She is determined to sell this thing. She's like, I'm going to grab an axe and maybe then they'll believe. She barely is able to pick up this axe that's like in a log. And just instinctively, Dagfinn just takes a spear, javelin toss, perfect, and just right through the chest. And
as soon as she picks it up, he instantly gets her. Just instantly down.
She's 30 yards away. He does it as if she's like about to pull the trigger or something like. And Heston goes to him and sighs, "Could you have not just have taken the axe from her?" Cracked us up.
Is Dagfinn too? I thought Dagfinn used to be part of Uhtred's crew. I thought it was him and Citric that went into Kjartan's.
No, I think I don't think so.
Or no, I'm thinking not Kjartan. Sorry, when Citric went and infiltrated Bjornfjord with Siegfried and Eric. I thought he took another Dane, because that other Dane like came back to Uhtred's with the news, and that's where Klappa knocked over Finnan because I saw this guy coming.
I don't think that was Dagfinn, was it?
I don't know. I thought it looked like him. I don't know.
Well, that's why all the Danes look alike. So I mean,
Scandinavians, you know. But that was a great Dane scene. Like it mixes the humor and the violence, and you know, like we just didn't get enough of that this season. You know what I mean?
It was a little less this season, but that was a good one. That was a really good one. Yeah. So then they're just like, we gotta attack this nunnery. Gotta go in.
Well, as soon as they open the doors, because they're not expecting Uhtred and gang to be there, as soon as they open the doors, they're met by a bunch of spears and arrows, and they're just thinking nuns are in here and Ethelfled.
Yeah, and Uhtred and the boys are there. So
and they just start wrecking, and they're like, "Run away! Run away!
Run away!" And so then later, you know, they go out and they're going to wait this out. They're like, "We're not leaving without Ethelfled." And they do like a really cool shield, like dome for Uhtred.
Yeah,
and like they open it a little bit for Uhtred's head so he can see Uhtred. I love it.
Yeah, and they show Skade, and they're like, "We'll trade you Skade for Ethelfled. You can take Skade back and let us go." So then Skade's like,
which is a fair trade.
Yeah, fair trade. Danes think she's hot, so they want her, and so they're like, "All right, fine." And then Skade on her way out, she's like, "I'm going to curse you again. Then Uhtred, bad things are gonna happen to you again because of this." And he's like, "Oh, fine." And so she leaves then with them, and they're able to go. And then this ends as you already described, with Aethelwald then actually acting on that fear that Ragnar might kill him.
Yes.
And actually, when Ragnar was going into do the horizontal tango with his side chick, he did give a sideways look at Aethelwald on the way there, like,
oh yeah, he's been mad at Aethelwald.
Yeah.
And
and like you said, Canute told him, like, you have to do it tonight. He's like, tomorrow Ragnar is going to be a new man. Like, we're going to be marching into battle. He's going to be a different man at this point. Like, he's going to want to clean house. Like, you've got to do it now. So, like you said,
Canute's
he goes
a bad dude, man.
He is.
So
that's his cousin. That's his cousin.
So Ethelwald pretends to get drunk. Or maybe he probably does drink a little bit to get over the nerves for what he's about to do.
Yeah,
but he makes a little stealth mode.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to kill our leader right now. There will be no mutiny tonight.
No murder or mutiny.
I'm just going to Dreamland. I don't know why you'd think that I would go kill anybody tonight. And then he goes stealth mode, and when he starts stepping into the tent, this tension music, this droning music starts playing in the show, and you just know something is about to happen. Now, we talked about this with Harry before, about how there was a moment in season 1 where Ethelwald was going to kill Alfred, and he took the knife out, and something in Ethelwald made him put it back in. And Harry's response to that when we talked to him was that Ethelwald, taking on a king role in Wessex is is it as good as it sounds, pretty much? It's
you have to fight Danes.
Especially at the time of that event, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially during his current circumstances there, yeah.
Right. But now, Ethelwald's different now. And we're not sure yet, though. We're not sure. Is he actually going to go through with this? Because we've seen him not go through with it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think he had thoughts in his head of not doing it. Because it seemed like he's in there, he's got a knife. He's got a knife, and the girl starts waking up, because he's standing there, scared for a second. And as soon as she starts waking up, he's like, oh crap, I better it's a panicked, almost I gotta do it. And so, yeah,
and then he turns it then on Ragnar, like you said, stabs him a bunch, takes the sword. He makes the scene.
Ragnar's awake, yeah, because he stabbed him in the neck first, and he just Harry McIntyre just killing it in this scene, he is he's not doing this like a warrior, he's freaking out. He's
Mm-hmm.
And Ragnar knows he's dead, and he reaches toward the sword. Ethelwald snags it,
Snags it.
Like we talked
and then
about before.
you were saying you thought he did this because he didn't want Ragnar defending himself, is what I think you thought it was.
Well,
right?
I said that at first. I was like, was that why? But then I forgot that he actually used a sword to try to make it look like the girl did it.
Yeah. So the first time I saw it, though, my first thought was he intentionally did that so he can get the Valhalla. You saw him reaching for it.
Here's the thing. I think Ethelwald knows all that stuff. I don't think he's oblivious to that fact.
No, I don't think he's oblivious to it. But I do think the reason he did it, though, was not to spite him from Valhalla, but it was to, either protect himself, or, like you said, he was just trying to make sure he had all the tools to stage the murder here.
Yeah.
Stage the crime scene.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, so that was just a terrible end to the episode. Like you said, we lose another character. Man, this is, like I was saying before, this is one of the reasons when I was first saw this season why I would have ranked it my least favorite, because now here we go, we're losing another iconic character. One of my favorite characters too.
Yeah.
We lost Gisela, now we're losing Ragnar. And so it was really tough. But now that I have seen it and I've been through it, this murder actually helps bring on another great character moment between Uhtred and Brita actually later on. And so, I mean, it does kind of earn its place then because of that. And I think and Harry did tell us too that in the books Ragnar dies, but it's off screen.
Yeah.
That you don't see what happens. They just kind of mention in passing that, you know, he got old and fat and died somehow. And so, I mean, this way he is like a part of the story then.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I still wish he didn't die though. Obviously, I get in the books he died, so they might as well come off here, and they might as well give him a good, you know, reason to die off as far as story goes. But
Yeah.
I was
Stinks,
pretty
though. He's an awesome character.
because he just got revenge on Kjartan. He just got done home.
And I think a good amount of time went by after that. We know there was 3 years, and but still, it was like
him and Uhtred hadn't resolved their.
That's what got me, is they hadn't resolved their thing.
I wouldn't have minded him dying in battle when, like, him and Uhtred were on good terms or something. You know what I mean? I still would have been sad, obviously.
Right.
But this way, him getting murdered, it is, like I said, it's kind of conflicting me how I feel about it. You know, we do get some great scenes because of it, and it really puts on a pivotal point of another mission Uhtred has to do for the rest then, and a great finale to the show because of it.
Good shows have to have parts like that, you know? They got to have parts that you don't like, unfortunately. Yeah. So what was your bro moment from this episode?
Best bro moment was when Uhtred was fighting during, you know, the beginning of the fight with Bloodhair. And during the fight, it becomes okay that they all treat Uhtred unfavorably. You know, the crowd is like pushing him when when he comes next to them. At one point, I think he stumbles and they like take his sword away before he can grab it. And so this one guy's holding his sword then in the crowd, and Finnan sees this, and he's not having it. He's not going to just sit there and let this happen. He instantly goes over to the dude, headbutts him, gets the sword, gives it back to Uhtred during the fight, who Uhtred too was like fighting with 2 shields at this point and just being real sweet. And he gets it back to Uhtred. And then he starts like acting like his coach in the corner of a fight in the ring. You know what I mean? He's like, go for his legs, Uhtred, go for his shoulder. And just a great bro right there. During the whole time he's during the fight. It was a great moment. That's got
to be mine too. I think that's like the only one from this one. There's not a lot of bro moments overall in this one.
No, not a lot of bro.
So that's got to be mine too. You know,
you have a best moment, your favorite
moment? I think I love the scene. I love the scene with Heston and Ethelfled, and then when Uhtred arrived on the rafters and stuff, like the whole sequence there was awesome.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna have to say the same thing as Heston when he's like, Ethelfled. You know, just like, and then Uhtred up in the rafters, just like some classic Uhtred humor, like when he was doing the bones with Hild with the skeleton face. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an Uhtred, a weird kooky thing that like a pious person wouldn't do, but Uhtred would do.
Absolutely. So what our plan is going to be is we're going to release this one with 4 episodes, and we're going to do 2 more podcasts. Each one's going to have the 3 episodes, so it'll probably be a little bit shorter. But that way, another reason we want to do that is there's a moment in the next 2 episodes that if we had done 5 today, they would have been split up. This moment, it's kind of one moment, but there's a cliffhanger, and it's the next episode after it starts with the same moment.
Yes,
and we kind of want to do that together. So there's another reason why we're splitting this one up.
Check out our episodes on podcast and YouTube, any iTunes, Spotify, all that. We should be on everything now, guys. Yep. We've really appreciated all the positive feedback we've got.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Please, thank you for listening. It's been great.
Yeah, it's really nice hearing all the things you guys have said.
And join the discussion. We want to hear what other people think too. If you're listening to this, and first of all, if we say anything wrong, especially some of the historical facts we bring into it, we want to get it right. So feel free to reach out to us and correct us, and we'll next episode correct it. And also just join the discussion. We want to hear what people think of the show. We want to hear different theories about what's going to happen, or perspectives, or the intricacies. We want to hear it.
Yeah. There's definitely a fan base for the show. It doesn't feel as mainstream as even Vikings, which I wouldn't even say is as mainstream as a lot of other shows.
Yeah.
So we really like being able to hear things, engage, and one of the reasons we started this was to get some things out on The Last Kingdom. So if you guys out there don't, like Colby's saying, engage in the conversation with us, because that's what we want. That's why we pretty much started this. And check out the rest of our videos on our channel, The Screen Chronicles. Destiny is all.